Welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast, a show about raising connected, resilient kids in a world that often forgets what they need most. I'm Livin'Sky, a pediatric speech-language pathologist, holistic feeding specialist, and a mom, here to help you understand your child's body, behavior, and biology in a whole new way. Each episode brings you simple, practical tools to support healthy eating, development, and family connection without the overwhelm. Thanks for listening. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast, your go-to source for healthy living and valuable insights into child development and family health. I'm your host, Paulina Livin'Sky, or Lina for short. As an SLP specializing in feeding, and most importantly, a mom, my work in holistic health reflects both my professional experience and personal journey. For over a decade, I've passionately studied and researched this field. Now I work with parents of children with chronic disorders, helping them heal and thrive. Join me for a mix of solo and guest episodes featuring experts in the health and wellness space. I can't wait to dive in, and also, I have a toddler, so I gotta get going. Let's get the show on the road. Welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast. I am thrilled you are tuning in with us today because we have such a special episode. Today on the show, I have an amazing conversation with Chanelle Jumper. She is the founder and CEO of Feed Your Signals. There's so much I could say about Chanelle, but she is a brilliant scientist. She has a PhD in physical chemistry. She is just an incredible mother. She has been lucky enough to be learning about good nutrition and what is actually something that fuels our bodies and how to look for good sources of food since she was about 5 years old. Her family has been very health conscious from the beginning, and she talks about her story today and how that influenced her to create this incredible product, which is Feed Your Signals or Signals. And it's a satisfaction shake that leverages your body's nutrient sensing system so you actually feel satisfied. It uses products that support your microbiome and your biology and just in general your body in a way where you feel amazing. It eliminates your cravings. It helps you feel full without feeling bloated. It increases your mental clarity. And I can vouch for that myself because whenever I have signals, I feel productive for hours. I feel like almost like a superhuman. And I'm not saying that lightly. It just really works to do that for you. And it helps you boost your mood and is blood sugar friendly because, of course, if we're having blood sugar spikes, that's going to affect our energy. It's going to affect our mind clarity. It's unfortunately very negative for our body. So Signals is absolutely incredible. And I'm so lucky to have been able to interview Chanelle and hear her story of how she came up with this incredible product, what it took to get there, her reasoning and beliefs behind it, her story, and so much more. And we talk about things like the food industry and how unfortunately it's so broken right now and how hard it is to actually find good products on the market and exactly why she created this one. But we talk about that. We talk about our body's needs and our biology and how we actually forage for foods, how we used to do it in the past, and how we actually subconsciously still do it when we go looking for snacks and things in our fridge and our pantry if we're not supporting ourselves with nourishing meals. We talk about child health and we talk about how much we are in crisis. We of course agree on this because we are in crisis right now with our kids just being so sick and not getting the right nutrition they need, with over 70% of their diet coming from processed foods, unfortunately, on average. So there's so much to be said in this episode, and we talk about how to really have nourishing and complete meals and how those are going to affect your health and the health of your family, how to create balanced meals. We talk about why Signals is a great meal replacement for the go, because it is hard to find good on the go products right now that don't have at least one or two ingredients that you don't love, right? Whether it's a seed oil, whether it's some kind of artificial flavor or a natural flavor, so-called, which is unfortunately also artificial. And it's so hard to find good products, especially if you are looking to do something quickly. So I just can't talk highly enough about this Signals meal replacement shake because I really believe in it. I do. It makes me feel amazing. I'm so excited for being able to have this in my pantry for when I need it because oftentimes I'm not super organized with prepping my meals. And this is something I'm working towards getting better at. But I am reaching for quick things. And for me, sometimes that will be like an apple and a meat stick of some sort, right? That's a pretty balanced, nutritious meal, but I would love to have like a full meal on the go, or a snack on the go. And that's when Signals comes in. And I'm so excited. This product is actually launching this week. It's starting to ship this week. So this is why I wanted to make sure this episode drops today and that it's available for you so you can learn all about Signals and behind the scenes and what went into making this product, and what it's really in there and why it's so important to promote these companies that are trying to create these products for us, which we desperately need because we do. Our food system is broken and our kids are suffering. And as parents, it's in our hands to shield them and to teach them the right way of eating and living and what it means to be healthy. So this is why I'm recording these episodes so that you can feel supported and you know what to do, in order to create this healthier life for your child in this unfortunately pretty toxic world that we live in right now. So without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce you to Chanelle Jumper. Chanelle, welcome to the Livin'Sky podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you here today so we can talk about you and Signals. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And for anyone listening, this is my very first podcast interview. So very exciting for me and very new.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure you're going to be doing plenty of these because what you have created is truly game changing, in a very inspiring way. And for me, since I've been on a holistic journey for over 10 years, I'm always looking for good products, outside of just eating whole foods, products that I can trust, products that can really nourish me. And I feel like this is exactly what you've created. So I'm so excited to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's exactly what
Yes.
I wanted to create.
You nailed it. So, what inspired you to start Signals?
So it's very interesting. I feel like it's been culminating my entire life has kind of led me to this point. And it's something now where I'm like, oh, it's so obvious that I was headed this way, but I didn't know like the whole time. But it's like everything has just kind of come together and it makes a lot of sense. To quickly touch on, growing up and stuff, because I know this podcast is primarily about, childhood health and raising healthy families. I had a really good health experience growing up. So my dad, basically since the time I could read, taught me how to read nutrition labels and primarily reading the ingredients. It wasn't about the nutrition facts and those numbers, but it was about what is actually put in here. And he
Mm.
taught me way back in the day, like when the low fat was trending, he was like, don't get anything low fat. That means that they took out the fat and they added sugar. So he taught me that back in the day. And then, when the vegetable oils were becoming a thing, now everyone's calling them seed oils, but back then it was vegetable oil. He said, let's not eat this because this is new and we don't know what this is, and this isn't like a natural food. It's like very highly processed and not anything that we necessarily know that our body should have. And the way that I was raised in that way, like it was always like, let's do this because it's going to be the best for us, and I kind of grew up with that. It was like, because it's weird because now people might say these are like restrictive points of view, but I never saw it as restrictive. It was more like, let's make intelligent decisions, let's be informed about our food. And that's kind of the approach my dad took, and that's the approach I had growing up.
Yeah, I agree. I
Which
agree. It's very educational too, right? It's kind of like teaching you from the beginning how to really eat in a natural way. And then as you get older, nobody's going to restrict you from eating what you want. But it's very
exactly.
crucial, especially at the beginning for young kids to get good nutrition. I'm a huge believer that light is one of the most powerful medicines for our kids and for us. That's why I love Bon Charge. Their blue light blocking glasses, red light therapy devices, and many other products are designed to support your circadian rhythm and help your family sleep and feel better naturally. In our modern world of screens and artificial light, these small shifts make a big difference. Calmer evenings, deep sleep, better focus, and happier moods. I use Bon Charge products every single day, and even my son has his own pair of blue light blocking glasses for evening story time. You can check out all their products at boncharge.com and use code LENAL to save 15% off your purchase.
Exactly. And I really was able to make the connection between what I was eating and how I felt. Because if I did try other things, and I did, it's not like anything was, forbidden necessarily. It wasn't like super extreme. But because I had such good, wholesome food growing up, I would try different things. I honestly didn't think packaged foods were very good. I didn't really get it.
It's
It wasn't
amazing.
like I left the house and was like, oh my gosh, now I can eat all the Doritos I want. I was like, these are gross.
That's because you were eating natural foods and that's how your taste buds got trained, right? And your body kind of knew, like, oh, this is going to make me feel gross. That's
Exactly. And
amazing.
like I found a lot of that stuff was like very heavily salted to a point where I'm like, this also doesn't taste good. I'm like, salt is not a seasoning. Like salt's not a spice, it's like it should enhance flavor, but not be the flavor. Salt's not a flavor. So maybe it's a seasoning. I'm not really a chef, but jumping ahead from that though, so an interesting thing actually happened to me that where this all went wrong. So because I was raised in this way, and I was super interested in health. My dad did lots of supplement businesses when I was growing up, and I would read all of the pamphlets for all the supplements he was taking and selling, and I basically knew every single one out there. I ended up working at a health food store and
Makes
just
sense. Yeah.
went in, and I wasn't like nutritionally trained at that time, but I was just like, quiz me. I was like, quiz me on anything in here. And they did, and then they
Wow.
hired me on the spot. So anyway, but where everything went wrong is because I had this interest in diet. I was like so interested, so attuned with the fact of what we put into our bodies affects how we feel, our performance, our energy, everything like that. Once I started hearing about other diets, around the late 2000s, all through the 2010s and now, like, so I'm probably aligns with like the social media and everything. Like once these other diets started coming out and people were talking about them, I took an interest. Back in like 2008, probably 2009, I took an interest in um the raw vegan whole thing.
Yes, I fell into the vegan trap as well. And for any
Yeah.
vegans listening, I mean, we get it, but it's just not for everyone. And it
Yeah,
has
it
to be
was
done really
certainly
well.
not for me.
Yes.
But I went down that path because, I was open to these things. I was
Hmm.
open to hearing these points of view, and I'm
Absolutely.
super interested in, trying to answer the question of like, what should we eat? What should we eat, for the most optimal life and most optimal results? And this has always been in my mind. So I kind of went down this path of trying all these new things, even though everything I was already doing totally right. I went off the rails because of
Yeah.
my interest in health, which is super ironic and sad. Really sad, to have that good upbringing and then just like throw it all away,
Yeah.
essentially. So I got really sick after that. I ended up with like PCOS. I was infertile. I had to get like progesterone therapy. Like I had no idea my
Mm.
diet was doing this. Like I went to see a hormonal doctor, and she did all my hormones, and she was like, your hormones are so out of whack, your testosterone's so high, your progesterone's so low. And I couldn't believe it. And she said, it's your lifestyle. I was like, what do you mean my lifestyle? I was like, I'm vegan. Like I'm the
Raw
healthiest.
vegan. Top of it. Yes.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I was like, I do, and I think I was eating everything organic. I was like, what are you talking about? But I was a total wreck. And it wasn't until I was pregnant, actually. And that's when I snapped out of that whole thing because, I wanted to have a home birth. So I also got pregnant on progesterone therapy, by the way, because I was infertile.
Hmm.
So that's what facilitated that. So that wasn't even really like a natural conception, which I did have later in life
Mm-hmm.
after I fixed my diet again. But I was pregnant and I wanted to have home birth, and they were measuring my iron levels, and my iron levels were so low. Like I was so anemic. I
Wow.
feel really bad now actually that I carried a pregnancy. Like at this point it was like 6 or 7 months and I was super anemic. Feel really
Right.
bad about that now. It's something I'm like really regret. Um
Mm-hmm.
and we tried everything. I was like, I'm not eating meat.
Oh,
So I got like prescription level iron medication, and I was doing like all these things. I was taking all these different medications. I got like fermented iron. I got everything. And I was getting my blood done every single week. They were like, you're not going to be able to have a home birth if you don't get your iron levels up. You're going to have to be in the hospital because if you have any hemorrhaging, you're going to die basically. So I tried everything to get my iron levels up. And that's when I realized, I was like, this obviously isn't working. I can't, first of all, I can't get pregnant naturally. And I can't even like
maintain
have
a healthy,
maintain a healthy
right.
pregnancy.
Exactly.
I can't have the baby in the way I want to. Like there's like risk of dying because of this
Right. It's like, what are the
situation.
benefits? Yeah.
And none of the supplements are working, even prescription level, even the whole
Right.
foods, even the fermented, like didn't matter.
Wow.
Nothing was working. So I finally went and sat down and I ate a burger.
I love that.
And the rest was history. I mean, I always thought I would, I'll just do this for the rest of my pregnancy and go back. But I had like a moment like 2 years later where I was like gnawing on a bone and kind
Love
of
it.
really had a spiritual moment with my, my own body's desire for
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
food and this nutrition. So,
Yeah.
um,
I couldn't relate to you more though, because my story is very similar. A bit of a different outcome, but I went vegan for about 3 years and I didn't do it the organic raw way. I did it this burger is veggie, but so it must be good for me because I
right.
can't have any meat. So I did not balance my diet well. I did not eat best ingredients. I mean, there was a very good mix of veggies in there, but still a lot of
Mhm.
processed food because
Yeah.
and of course I thought I'm doing the right thing. I'm being so healthy. And for 3 years I did this and I wrecked my body, completely wrecked my body. And I got pregnant during this time. It was 2019. I got out of veganism in 2020 and I miscarried. And I'm pretty sure this is what happened. It's just my body was not prepared. It was very, I was very malnourished. Everything was kind of out of whack, and I can't prove it on paper that this is what happened, but just what I feel intuitively. So then going into my pregnancy, because I have a son now, I knew I needed to restore my health and eat a really nutritious diet because I also had a home birth and in order to prepare for that, there's a lot of things you need to do and make sure everything goes right. So for us as humans, we do need that animal based protein. Most of us do, at least.
Yeah.
Some people thrive on plant based, but it's rare.
Yeah. And the other nutrients that go along with that.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear about the miscarriage. That's
Oh,
really
thank you.
heartbreaking. And I can
Yeah.
imagine because I, totally understand, and I have so much regret over how I ate during my pregnancy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder if it has affected the health of my daughter.
These days when your child refuses everything you make and you just want them to have something nourishing, that's when I grab Signals. It's a real food meal replacement shake made with organ meats, minerals, and nutrients that support kids' biology, not just fill them up. It's rich in iron, zinc, and B vitamins, the building blocks for growth, focus, and strong immune systems. And it's great for the gut. And the best part? Nate calls it his ice cream shake. That's how delicious it is. And as a mom, it feels amazing to know he's getting what his body truly needs without the fight. You can learn more at feedyoursignals.com and don't forget to use Lena10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but luckily you know what to do now and you can only support her that way and we have to move forward, right? But we learn from our mistakes, but hopefully these stories keep other people from making these mistakes and really, help them understand nutrition from a different perspective. And if they're not getting all the information they need, digging deeper, right? Because we really need to nourish our bodies, especially in this toxic environment we live in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. Yes. So maybe to bring this back to the original question, because that was a long
I love it though.
background that
Such a
probably
good
only
background.
got me to about, age 29. So over 10 years ago. But, from there, I ended up in health and nutrition coaching. And I mean, I got out of veganism, but this whole thing just persisted with the questions of what do we eat? And
Right.
especially with social media, the messaging got more and more complicated, more and more confusing. And the crazy thing is, over time, like, I had all the answers in me before I did any of this kind of listening to all these perspectives. You know what I mean? So it was like, the more voices I let in, the more confused I got, and the more I questioned even my own advice to people. And I actually, around 2019, not sure exactly when, around there, stopped, doing any coaching with my health and fitness clients. I completely left social media. I was like, I can't give anyone advice right now because I'm so lost. I just got so confused myself, even though like this was my lifelong expertise. And
Yeah.
I was like, I just can't. Meanwhile, I'm doing, I'm at Princeton. I went there in 2017 to start doing my postdocs. I started a company in Boston in around 2020 in biotech. So I was doing all of that, and I kind of like left the nutrition scene for a while. I was like, I'm not coming back until I figure this out, if ever. I was like, maybe there's no answer to this. But this question still was like driving me crazy. Like, what should we eat? What should we eat? How do we know? What should we eat and how do we know? Like, how can we resolve all of these conflicts and lack of consensus between everyone? And so I continued to do my own research quietly, without any outside voices, and just thinking about this really rationally. And I had a lot of different areas that influenced this whole picture that came together. And some of it is quite new research that hasn't really become as part of the mainstream conversation. But that's involving kind of the discovery of the nutrient sensing system and our appetite signaling system. So, and like the gut brain axis is involved. And this is something that is, much newer. And some of the discoveries in appetite signaling, protein leverage, and that kind of area. And when I discovered all of this, I felt like this was a very rational approach to answering the question of nutrition and what we should be eating, because basically what it comes down to is that our bodies have an innate nutrient sensing system that can very accurately detect and measure the nutrients we're getting from our diet and from our environment. And it's sensed in our intestinal cells, and we also have the microbiome to feed, and those guys also send signals. So between the intestinal cells and the microbiome that's receiving the food we're eating, it's interacting with that food, and it's detecting all the nutrients in there, measuring the nutrients in there. And when threshold levels of certain nutrients are reached, signals are then sent to our brain to basically appease our appetite, to sort of turn off those appetite switches that are responsible for influencing our foraging behavior, essentially influencing our desire to go and look for food. You go to the fridge, you go to the cupboard, you go to the fridge, you go to the cupboard, you're out there. That's like foraging, it's like the same as what animals do out there. We're just doing it in our kitchen. Yes. And we've kind of disconnected from this, but we're doing it all the time. We know we want something, and when we see it or find it or eat it, like, we kind of know, if it's even in our environment. If I've removed all the meat from my fridge, then I'll never find it. But yeah, sadly. But essentially, our bodies have a whole feedback system such that when you ingest what the body is looking for, it will turn off all of these behaviors. And, I think if you're not able to turn off those appetites by getting the nutrients that your body's looking for, you might fill your belly and feel physically full, but I believe you will remain hungry. You will remain in a heightened nervous state in your nervous system that's still seeking and looking for food. You haven't really finished eating. And, I think this is why people may be overeating, because their appetites aren't turning off. And worse than our appetites not turning off is stuff in our food that actually keeps our appetites on. I mean, that's just even worse. It's worse to have food that is lacking in the nutrients that we need. But it's even more detrimental that, the people that know about this information in the food industry are typically using it against us, which I think is just an assault on the population. Like, it makes me absolutely sick. It's literally an assault on the population. I mean, the research even on that goes back to the 90s. They tried to make these foods with that were low calorie, but they also had no nutrients. And they were feeding them to rats, and they found that the rats just kept eating them. They just kept eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. So that's the result of eating, but you don't have there's nothing there. Right. The system is not receiving any of this. So that's kind of in a nutshell, I guess, where Signals was born from, because, on the one hand, I wanted to answer this question. So I'm very excited to share all of this information with people. And I think it's, it would be great if everyone took that philosophy on that, how we should guide what we're eating should be, what is our body looking for, and what signaling mechanisms do we have in response to that? Because if we have those signaling mechanisms in response to that, it's a good indicator that that's what we should be eating, and we can put it on the list. So I'm excited to educate people on that. But I also thought, why don't I make a list of all of those things, put it all together, and make a ready to go product where you can check all those boxes right away and be satisfied and be satiated and have a convenient form of fast food that actually gives you what you would get from, preparing a whole meal. Or going out and hunting and collecting plant materials. You know what I mean? Let's bring natural food environment into a convenient form that kind of ticks all those boxes. And I don't think anyone's really approached any kind of convenience products from this point of view. There's lots of even healthier for you convenience products where they're healthier for you in one aspect, right? So,
but there's always a but in a way.
This allergen, or maybe it's all organic ingredients. But is the composition of that food the composition that your body is looking for, or no, right? Because I can still have something that's basically all carbs and all fats, but it's organic or whatever, but it still might not be supporting, feeding my signals. Essentially, it might not be supporting those mechanisms it might not be accomplishing the purpose of eating. So I kind of see the purpose of eating is to maximize all of those signals. That's what would be happening in nature.
So what are some of these ingredients that are typically not available in a processed food that are really nourishing for us and our body is craving and is sending the right signals?
Yeah. So I made a whole list and I kind of categorized them into 5 food categories. So that was kind of how I organized them, but they're not necessarily organized like that out there in the literature. But, well, sort of they are. So we have protein, fiber, fat, resistant starch, and micronutrients. So, and then out of those 5, 3 of those are provide the nutrients that are detected by our intestinal cells, and 2 of those are feeding the gut microbiome. And then all of that together is leading to signaling processes that, appease our appetite, turn off our appetite, say, hey, you're done. Check, check, check. You got it. So, I can break this all down. Now is the right moment. It's probably another whole monologue.
Right. Of everything. Absolutely. But that's fascinating. And why is it a resistant starch versus just like a regular starch? What's the difference?
So for the resistant starch, these are carbohydrates, but they have a chemical structure that actually does not allow the enzymes to get in there and break them down. So
Hmm.
they're resistant to digestion. So they ended up passing through and being able to feed the gut microbiome. Those guys chomp on this and they actually poop out short chain fatty acids, which are great for us as well. So we
Absolutely.
get the products of that, microbiome fermentation plus the signals from the microbiome in that sense. So the soluble fiber as well does the same thing. So those two are kind of interchangeable, but I made them two separate categories because I deliberately added both forms. And then so the sources of that, so for the soluble fiber, we have acacia fiber, and for the resistant starch, we're using green banana and tapioca dextrin. So it's like the resistant dextrin from tapioca, and it's like 90% resistant starch. So it's like super, super resistant starch because you can do like, boiled and cooled mashed potatoes, or not necessarily mashed potatoes, but boiled and cooled potatoes, you'll get a fraction of resistant starch. It's not going to be 90%.
Okay.
So this ingredient is like 90% resistant starch.
Wow. That's phenomenal. And I love
Yeah.
the way you're talking about this because it's so easy to, once you understand what goes into this, to then translate that onto our plates for when we are preparing our meals for our kids and our families, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I love because these types of ingredients, when they're so well balanced and you have the resistant starches and the proteins and the fiber, everything else it doesn't spike our blood sugar. So then
Mhm.
you continue to eat in a very healthy way and
Yeah.
support the growing bodies and our health as
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why, and I'm not against carbs in any way, but I definitely lean more towards the resistant starches, the soluble fiber. Those are kind of the good things that carbs can give you. And of course, you can have more if you need more energy, more fuel. But I wanted to focus on the primary check boxes that your body's looking for. Extra carbs can always be, added on.
Absolutely. Right. And it all depends on your goals too. If you're trying to bulk up at the gym versus if you're trying to maintain weight or maybe lose weight, there's different things to consider here. But overall, to create a healthy meal, these are the things that we need.
Yeah, exactly. And if we're eating stuff that's spiking our blood sugar, I think people are probably well aware now. I don't know, hopefully that,
Yeah.
there's a lot of effects on your appetite and your foraging behavior in response to this. So,
Mhm.
for example, if you have sugars or anything sweet, that's going to stimulate your appetite. So that's not necessarily what we want. We don't want to artificially stimulate our appetite. And then if we do have high glycemic foods and we end up with a blood sugar crash, we are then going to be craving more carbs to, restore our blood sugar to normal levels. And a lot of these, it's interesting. I hope people understand this because going back to my health and fitness days and like nutrition and health advice and fitness advice is always about like measuring and controlling, like measuring your food and controlling yourself. Like it's all about
Yeah.
willpower. And you don't need to do any of that. As long as you have the right inputs, your body is going to sort all of that out. And no one, I don't want to see anyone struggle with cravings. Like we don't need to be dealing with that. As long as if we can optimize our inputs, all of that stuff naturally falls away. If we maintain a stable blood sugar, we're not going to be having those afternoon like chocolate bar cravings or whatever it is. And if you do have them because of some suboptimal input earlier that day, it's not a moral failing on your part and you don't necessarily need to control yourself. Your body's actually working perfectly fine in response to inputs that it had earlier. So if we want to change that, let's stop focusing on trying to control ourselves and measure our food and all of this stuff and actually just understand our biology and give it the right inputs, and everything is just going to work out on its own. And I think that goes back to like what I was saying before about my childhood. I had all the right inputs. I never had to do any of these diets or whatever. It's actually when I started doing that everything fell apart. So it's kind of like the
Isn't
full
that
circle
ironic?
moment of like,
Yeah.
I knew this. I was like, I never had a way to explain it, but I was like, oh, how did I have it right before? Why did I have it right without having any way to describe it, you know? So now
Right.
I have the words to describe, you know, why I was healthy when I was healthy without thinking or doing anything, literally just having good inputs.
Right. Exactly. And this is how, our grandparents grew up.
Hmm.
Our parents, if we're lucky, because I think the market started changing around like the 60s, the 70s when the processed foods came into the market. But before then, this is exactly what we did. And what
Exactly.
we're kind of getting back to now,
Yes.
that wisdom of our families.
Exactly.
So I love that story. And it's so inspiring in so many ways. Just knowing that this is your story behind this product, it even makes you believe in it so much more because, it's not just something that you came up with as a diet trend. This is literally something that you've worked your whole life towards and something that you really believe in and and you can support in so many levels. So it just makes it that much more exciting to try this. And I'm so happy that this is finally available. So let's go back to what we said before. This week was a big week for Signals. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. So this week we actually got into our final production. It was a long, long journey to get here. I could give you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes of food manufacturing because that's a lot of fun. Imagine being someone who wants to do food manufacturing different from 99% of the other companies. So imagine being that person. That's
Yeah.
been me. So, I mean, just a few like snippets of this journey. For example, I went to one supplier because okay, so I have my list of check boxes. Okay, I have criteria for that list. All right, it's not just about what we have to put into our bodies to check all those boxes. It's also what we need to exclude from the product because there are lots of food additives out there. And actually, I think this is a good point to make.
Mhm.
There are a lot of food additives out there that unfortunately, really tragically, this makes me so upset. I'm very, very upset about this. They disrupt your nutrient sensing system. They actually
Mm.
disrupt our body's ability to check and identify and measure the nutrients in our food, which is, yeah. So they come in and they mess with our perfect system. And then we have people out there, teaching you how to like measure and control all your food because everything's all haywire.
Oh my gosh.
I've measured and everything. I think it's a good practice to learn, what's in your food, how much is this much protein, how big is
Mhm.
your piece of meat, etc. Like those are good practices, but we don't need to do that forever. So anyway, I have all these criteria where these are the ingredients, but all of these things are not allowed in because they're going to disrupt this system one way or another. And a
Right.
big one, I'm just going to tell everyone so you
Hmm.
can stay away, emulsifiers, and they're in everything.
Yes.
They're in
Yes.
everything.
And they
Everything.
really mess with your gut. Really
Yes.
mess with your gut health.
Yes. Yes.
So can you give some
Even,
examples of some emulsifiers, like the top
yes.
ones?
Cellulose gum, carrageenan, polysorbate 80, even lecithins, soy lecithin, sunflower lecithin. Um, the original emulsifier is actually egg yolk. So that's, what's used in baking, and that's fine, but no one uses egg yolk lecithin because it doesn't have a long shelf life.
Right.
So there are some versions that have been created that are a bit more stable in Canada, but it's really not widely used. So um,
Yeah.
I have a longer list on the back of our package of what we don't include, and like at least 6 of them are different emulsifiers. So
Yeah.
there's research showing like what it does to the gut microbiome, like shifts the populations in the gut microbiome. Even like E. coli is increased, like
Wow.
the good bacteria populations are decreased. And there's also, the concept that it's like because these emulsifiers they're basically detergents. That's what an emulsifier is. It's a detergent. A detergent is something with a polar head and a non-polar head, where the polar head sticks to water and the non-polar head sticks to the, fat or water insoluble stuff like fats and stuff. So like, when you're cleaning your clothes, you want something to stick to the and remove from the oil and go wash away with the water. So how do you get the oil out using water? Use a detergent because it bridges those things. So that's what's happening in the food. It's how you can stabilize the fats inside, or whatever it is, inside the food blend. So those are very, very commonly used. And what that can do in your gut is emulsify your gut lining and just strip and solubilize your gut lining. So now those cells that, would normally be detecting your nutrients now are messed up and unable to do so. So that's something that can happen. And, some people may argue that this is not happening, but look, when I eat any of these packaged foods, I don't feel good. So whatever is happening in there, the stuff is not making you feel good, especially with shakes. Shakes are a big one. I mean, they have to there's so much stuff added to them, signals they didn't add any of it. So, you can't really let it sit on the counter for a long time.
Right.
My husband's
comes
like,
apart.
Why does it do this?
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I didn't put any chemicals in it, okay?
Like, let's add all the emulsifiers. Let's see what it's going to look like then.
You're going to deal with it because you're going to get what you need out of it. Drink it right away. And it's going to be fine. So all of this was leading into some of my interactions with going to the suppliers to source ingredients. So I went to one because I wanted to get a certain powdered fat, and he said, so we do this, and then we add the sunflower lecithin, and I was like, we don't want to use that. And he's like, and I told him what we were doing, and he goes, I know people like you. I've seen people like you before. Yeah, they put in one order, they never order again. They want everything all pristine. I've been in this business for 30 years, and your product is not going to sell. This is going to be too expensive. I think, he said, quote unquote, I think you should go back to the drawing board and rethink your plan.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I was like, luckily I have like the conviction, luckily that didn't hurt me too much. I'm not going back to the drawing board. I mean, some people's feedback might be good, but I knew that
it wasn't
not something I needed to listen to, because it was like, it might cost a bit more, but you've been in the business for 30 years, but I know what people want now. Maybe they didn't want it in the 90s, but my family did in the 90s, but I can see that this is trend more of an interest, for people, what's in their food, because people don't feel good.
They don't, but we're in crisis.
Yes,
one in two kids has a chronic disease.
Exactly.
Kids their diet is made up of over 70% ultra processed foods. We're in crisis. We need to save the kids. We need to save our health. Yes. And I understand the convenience of it. I'm not knocking anybody, I understand it because it's so hard, especially with kids being so picky. But a lot of the times they're so picky, not always, but a lot of the times because they're so used to these types of foods. So then when you introduce them to something that is not as chemically enticing, they might not enjoy it. But it's a big crisis. Our kids are getting sicker. And I applaud you for standing your ground and bringing this to the market, because we do need convenient products that are actually healthy. And I'm so happy that this is finally coming out.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yep. Yeah. So I told him where to go and moved on. And now it's
good
a
for
funny
you.
story. And, sometimes I dream of the day when I can send him the sales and be like, people do want this. Sorry, get with the times. But
could have been you. We could have done this together. But here we are.
And then one of the other ones that I encountered, which is really, really sad. And, this is something I've been aware of for a long time in supplements, because, I think it's well known there's been a lot of, so to speak, scandals around supplements where they get measured and they get tested and the active ingredient's not in there, or there's a whole bunch of lead or something like that.
Yeah.
they're not extremely reliable. And so when I was seeking out co-packers, I mean, I almost had to do the whole production myself because I couldn't find a good partner. The standard practice is you give them your formula and they kind of can make it however they want. And I would explain the product to people. And, it's like, it's about what you're putting in, it's about what you can't put in. There's all these criteria. This isn't like an easy run of the mill standard thing to make. And there was, it was very hard to find someone to get on board with that. Like, basically, they wanted to take the formula, source their own ingredients, and then I'm like, well, are you going to tell me who the supplier is, the specs? How do I know that it meets the criteria that I've put forward? And they said, yeah, we don't usually share that. I'm like, well, how can I be sure that this is going to meet the extremely strict standards that I've meticulously created for every single ingredient to be what your body's looking for and nothing that can interfere with your body knowing that it's getting those things. Like, that was the criteria. So it was like, you can't play with that. Like, you're not allowed to play with that. So I ended up actually renting a food space. I got a food manufacturing license and I was going to make this product myself. Now, luckily, I ended up finding an amazing partner, NFP Processing. They're in Florida, New York. I met them at a conference and they do the blending only, not the packaging. But they just incredible. I love them so much. I'm so happy to have found them, especially after all these bad experiences. I almost think of it as like, when you have a bunch of bad relationships and then a good one, you like love that person so much more. That's how I feel about NFP. I'm like, I love you guys so much. Just because they sat down, really understood the product, really understood the formula. We're not interested in messing around with it, really support the idea and what we're doing, and allowed me to have complete control over it. And so basically what I do is I have sourced every single ingredient in there. I have all the relationships with the suppliers directly. I order everything in and they take what I order in and they blend it up and give it back to me.
Wow.
Exactly how I, want it to be. So,
okay. Good. Yeah. But that seems like you're still very involved with the process then.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And what allowed me to do that is going down the path of like, I was basically going to do it myself. So essentially, in a way, I still am. I'm just borrowing their giant professional blender things.
Yeah.
And there are many years of expertise on doing that. And I'm actually really glad that we went that path, because it turns out that dry blending is not really that straightforward. I mean, you have to make sure everything, like there's different particle sizes and like maintaining homogeneity when it's a huge batch and making sure there's like no clumps, and everything has to go through screens and everything has to be microbiological tested. So it's like a really like involved process to just like mix powders. Wow. And they do a great job at that.
Oh, shout out to them. That's great.
So I went to visit them this week and the facility is pristine, clean. It's amazing. And everyone who works there is just so friendly, so professional. Everyone knows what they're doing. Like when I went, you could just tell like everyone, their posture, they're just like professional.
Wow. That's great.
So, really, really happy.
Yeah, because essentially like you're giving them your baby. So I'm so happy that this has worked out.
Exactly. And so anyone who gets the product, it's been made by me, ordered by me, and made by a really, really professional team in a really pristine, clean facility. So, it's
amazing.
Super, super high quality. How you feel? Well, why don't I ask you? I can tell people all day long how I feel or how people have reported, but I'm curious your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Every time I have signals, because I've been lucky enough to have not only samples, but actually the actual product here. So I can have it after workouts or when I'm running around like crazy and I need something very nourishing on the quick. I mean, first of all, it feels so good to know I can just fall back on signals without having to stress about what's in my fridge. The comfort it gives me it's incredible. But also just, I feel so much more productive. Like I got so much done yesterday because I had it earlier on in the day. It's just my productivity goes up, my focus goes up. I'm not as hungry. I had it around 10 and then I didn't really need to eat until about like 3. And I had just like the regular portion. So I was like, wow, this is great.
Yes.
It's just so nourishing. It's so nourishing. And I wanted to know, because the packaging gives you for the amount you can make for an adult. So how can we modify it to make for kids?
Yes, exactly. So you asked me this a while ago.
Yes.
I could, yeah. So I didn't, specifically formulate it, with children in mind. So I apologize for this,
No,
but
it's
I think
okay.
we have it in the FAQ now.
Okay. Okay,
Um,
good.
yeah. So, I would scale it like these are rough measures, but I would scale it with the age of the child and usually like how many calories they're kind of eating. I would maybe match that a little bit. Like I think that's probably the best way to do it, because for those calories that you give them, it's going to be made up of, only the things your body needs. So, I wouldn't necessarily say you need to decide anything based on calories, but if you know what I mean, you can kind of scale it with that. So I would say approximately, so for the adult, we have 3 scoops, and it's about, hold on, let me just plug in my computer here. I didn't realize it was not plugged in
Yeah, no worries.
before I lose you guys.
We don't want that. We have questions.
Yeah. So it's about 360 calories. So, the other thing with this is I did not make this like a low calorie meal replacement. Like the conventional meal replacement is like get some protein, get some synthetic vitamins and some minerals, a whole bunch of thickeners to make it feel like thick, like there's something in there, but it's literally just chemicals like thickening it up artificially. And you're still going to be starving after, but you're going to tell yourself it's okay to not eat because you got, quote unquote, got all your nutrients, which you did
Wow.
not.
Right. Far from it.
Especially with like just having protein on its own, just with vitamins. I mean, there's no food that is composed of this in nature.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe the rabbit, but if you've ever looked up rabbit starvation, if you just eat protein alone, you will die. People have died even though they're eating a great diet of rabbits out in the wild. So
Yeah.
we need, our meals need to be composed of more than just protein and vitamins. So
Absolutely.
I digress, but just to say, like, one shake for an adult is, if you take the full portion, it's 360 calories. That's a decent meal to get you to your next meal.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm not asking you to live off of 100 calories and try to make it to your next meal. This is just insane.
Yeah.
So for my 2-year-old, she drinks. I mean, you can also give it to them, and they're gonna drink it
Right.
until they're
Until they're
full,
full. Right.
and their
Exactly.
bodies are gonna know when that is, and it's gonna
Right.
properly signal when you're full. She just drinks like about an inch, and she goes mental when I pull it out and I pull out the blender. Oh my gosh, she's right there. I have like all these
Oh,
videos of her. I try not to
yay!
post her too much because I don't want to like
Right.
have the whole like the kids on the social media, but
Right.
every now and then I have like the video. She's like she gets her cup from the cupboard and she goes and stands there next to the blender
Oh,
with her
it's like a
cup.
little bit for me, mommy.
Yeah, it's so
That's
precious. She's
so
like, "What's
sweet.
up? What's up?" Oh my gosh.
Oh
She's with my
my
mom right now. I
gosh.
miss her so much. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
Oh,
she comes up with her cup. She goes crazy. So I give her like about an inch. I don't even know necessarily how much that is. But yeah, I think actually talking this out
that's
with
a
you, the
good.
good
Yeah.
guidance is however much they can drink,
They
and
can
then,
drink. Yeah.
give it 20 minutes so that, it takes some time for all the signals to go through.
Yeah.
An older child, maybe around 5 to 10, you could probably give a scoop. A
It's
half
like about
portion is
half.
a
Yeah.
scoop and a half, which is probably good enough for like a teenager. And then if you're an adult, go for 3 scoops. I mean, I have the option even for adults to do a scoop and a half because, some people were reporting that they were having 3 scoops and not eating for a really long time.
Right.
So that's something to be mindful of because people are not, there's no appetite suppressants in this. This is all just appetite appeasement, like it's your body's natural mechanisms. But if people are not used to consuming things that actually make them feel full for that long, it's like pretty surprising. So I would be very mindful when consuming this that it is, if you have a full 3 scoops, that's going to be a meal to your body. Your body is going to
Right.
check all the boxes and be like, great, I'm good for a while. So if you have that in between meals, like at 3 p.m., you're probably going to miss dinner and mess everything up. So don't do that. So if it's like the
Yeah.
afternoon and you want to have some, I would recommend the half portion. That's kind of
Right.
what that's for. If you're between meals, have a half portion. If you want
Like
to
a
have it
snack.
as a
Yeah.
lunch or breakfast, then have the full 3 scoops. So that's kind of the dosing. I don't know if that clarifies it or
No,
makes
it does. It
Yeah.
does, because it's not so calculated and every child is
Yeah,
different, right? It's just like a rough guidance anyways.
exactly.
Yeah, but as long as you make it within the guidance of how much to mix, then you just go off of that.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about this product too, because I work with a lot of kids who have G tubes
Oh,
and
right.
they live on meal replacements, right? But
Right.
most of the things that are recommended to them is a Pediasure mix, which is full of chemicals, unfortunately. Some of the formula is a little bit cleaner, but none of it even comes close to this. So I'm really hoping in this perfect world, we would be able to actually use signals for G tubes and it would be covered by insurance. That would be like just a dream come true.
Ugh, I
Ugh.
know. So many people have this dream, and I've also heard this from nurses and people, in the
Yeah.
hospital, in the medical community. What
Yeah.
is really, really sad about this, I heard a discussion about this before, like what kind of prevents medical establishments from taking on, products like this is really annoying.
I
This is
bet.
the catch 22 of all of this, which drives me crazy. I have the same issue with the FDA. So they want everything standardized. They want vitamins and minerals to be standardized. They want to hit certain targets of vitamins and minerals, certain percentage of the daily recommended dose. And the only way to accomplish that really is through having a synthetic vitamin and mineral blend, which you find in things like Boost and whatever else, has like corn syrup as the first ingredient. So it's like this really annoying thing because the products that are standardized also are just composed of really subpar ingredients. Like, I just don't think that's a really, first of all, I don't think the synthetic blend is really the best nutrition to get. It's obviously better than nothing, but it's not the best nutrition to get, and it's not delivered in the matrix that I think is really going to be helping people, like just milk solids, corn syrup, bunch of chemicals to make it thick again, vitamins and minerals. And because it's all because you can standardize all the, there's X amount of protein and there's X amount of vitamin D and all of this kind of stuff. From like the dietitian point of view, it checks all of those boxes, but those aren't really like, you know, the boxes need to be a bit more sophisticated than that.
Right.
It's not sufficient just to check off micros and macros. Like I was explaining, there are things that you can add that are going to affect your body's ability to recognize these nutrients. So, and I just don't think having these along with 27 grams of sugar is necessary either.
No, and as much as life-saving as G tubes are, because they really are for a lot of kids and adults, we're really doing kids a disservice by just feeding them constantly this processed product where this is what their body relies on. This is what goes in for every single meal. So it's really sad because then we wonder, like, why are these kids not thriving, right? Why are these kids not thriving? Oftentimes they're homebound. They're not out there getting sun. It's really sad because it's just this education piece. I feel like it's not there because the parents are doing the best that they can with what they have. And oftentimes they don't have the resources to buy something over the counter or something like kind of amazing like signals because they just insurance won't cover it, right? Because of these ridiculous standards. So it's just so much to say here, but hopefully in the world, there is going to be some change and some shift around this soon.
I would love that too. I mean, like cost is another thing. These processed products are, they have cheap ingredients. They have the cheapest versions of those macronutrients, micronutrients, right? So maybe you check the boxes, it's like literally the worst quality form of that, but it's really, budget friendly, definitely. So it's like, it's hard, but I do think, I mean, with the cost of healthcare and the cost of a sick population, I mean, my approach is I think we should invest in health, and I think we should invest in it from the front. And it would, that's kind of the catch 22, because like the things that we need are not necessarily perfectly standardized in that way. I mean, we have our micronutrients come from organs. I don't think we even got into the whole ingredients other than the, the
we did not.
But
Yes.
selection for the micronutrients for signals is organ meats, because that's a good source of those micronutrients that are going to come in a bioavailable form, with their cofactors bound to proteins that might be involved in their delivery. They're not necessarily going to be super standardized amounts. It depends, on the animal, and there's going to be some kind of range for them, but it's not the perfect like 25% of every single one. That's really the big problem. I'm sure the amounts are not going to be too far off, liver to liver or heart to heart, but they kind of want your whole list of micronutrients, 25% RDA for all of them across the board, and like,
wow,
go, and they don't even come that way in organs.
Yeah.
You're not super high in vitamin C, but you don't necessarily need more vitamin C in the context of that diet. You need more vitamin C the more carbs you're having, for example. So it's like, even your requirements for these nutrients depends on the rest of your diet as well. So like, these RDAs are very interesting, but I digress.
No, there's so much to say here, and let's just hope we can change some of these standards, so quote unquote standards, and do something so that we can really help the kids. Because if not, if this crisis persists, like, what are we really going to look like in 30 years? What is our health is going to look like? It's really scary. So I'm excited. I'm hopeful because people like you are making these amazing products. We're talking about this and going back to, like we said before, to the way of eating and the way of living of our ancestors. And I think that's really key here. And they're really leveraging nature, going back to the basics, because that's really what it is. It's so basic. Health is basic. And we don't have to overdo it in so many ways.
Yeah, we've over-scienced ourselves, and and I'm a scientist, fully trained, and I can admit that we have over-scienced ourselves. Like, we're solving problems that wouldn't be problems if we just let things, there's certain things that are okay the way they are, and our nutrition system was really okay the way it was. We did not need to come in and
meddle so much. Yes.
Completely mental with food. I mean, it keeps going, and it's heartbreaking. And like you say, like the kids, my heart, I could cry like on a dime about this. Like, my heart breaks for them, because they're growing up, they have no idea.
They have no idea.
And that's so sad.
Right. And this is the scary part too, because this information is just so, there's so much propaganda around this, and it keeps on getting, like I said, meddled as well, because you get this messaging from social media, and which is highly censored, and then you get this information from the news, which is also highly censored and funded by big pharma and big food companies. And it's just so sad, because unless you come out of this matrix, get out of it, and start to understand what's really going on, you can really get lost, and you can really be a victim of this.
Definitely. Exactly. I think everyone is a victim of this, to be honest. Like, I was a victim of it,
Me too.
To the point of, harming my children's health. So, and my own, which is like, it breaks my heart. And honestly, I've been obsessed with this for a long time, and I'm very happy to die on this hill. I will not stop fighting for, right now I'm bringing in alternatives for people, but I won't stop spreading the message, about, what we need to return to our, original health, and we have everything we need, and we don't need to over-engineer anything, and we certainly don't need to promote a plant-based planet, because you can't convince me that's going to be better for the environment to monocrop everything, and then imagine how many plants you need to eat to get enough calories and nutrients and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's a whole other discussion, but
100%. But it makes me think, we went to San Diego 2 weeks ago, and we went to the zoo, and we were at the panda exhibit, and the zookeeper was talking about the pandas, and pandas eat for 16 hours a day because all they eat is bamboo, and they just don't get enough nutrients.
Yeah.
So they literally have to eat for 16 hours to get enough, which is
rough
insane.
Being a herbivore.
It is so rough.
They eat all day, grazing constantly.
All
the cows,
day.
All day.
Oh my gosh, all day. And then literally gets to a point where if they have 2 cubs versus one, like one can die because the mom only has enough energy and time to care for one. Like it's so, but that's just how nature is, designed. This is how it is. And we have to learn from it, and we have to understand it, and we have to just really become one with nature and understand, as carnivores, what are we supposed to be eating to really nourish ourselves? Because unfortunately, we are carnivores or omnivores, really, and we need both. We need both. We need animal-based protein and plant-based protein, but at different levels, to actually send the right signals to our body so that we get all the right nutrients and can really thrive.
Exactly. And if we eat optimally, like the Signals way of life, what we get out of that is like we can eat once and not have to think about food for many hours. We don't have to live a life of herbivores constantly grazing. This has become people's lives. This doesn't need to be our life. We don't need to be thinking about food all the time. I mean, I can eat, if I have like a big steak for dinner, like sometimes I'm good till 3 the next day. Like we can store all of this and use it for long periods of time. I'm not saying I recommend people to fast until 3. I'm just saying the consequence of eating, good amount of protein, fat, especially. There's lots of micronutrients in steak.
Yes.
It's a really good meal, and you throw some plants in there so you get some fiber, and I think it's, really perfect meals. And I mean, especially too, if I start my day with steak and eggs, I mean, I can go till dinner.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be free like that? You can't tell me that's bad. I mean, sure, it's higher in calories, but how many calories am I eating all day when that's all I eat?
Right. Because you're not craving the little snack. You're not craving your little chips and your little chocolate bar. Because
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a good indicator. Like, if you are not hungry all day long, it's a very, without an appetite suppressant, it's a very good indicator that that's what your body wanted. If it shuts off your appetite, that's telling you my body wanted this because it actually turned off my appetite, because your appetite's not like random.
Right.
It's like very controlled according to your nutrient input. So
absolutely,
that should be like a good guide for everyone. And I hope, like, I guess if I had one takeaway, it's like, listen to your signals.
Yes.
Listen to your signals, because our whole biology is a whole signaling system. And we can get in tune with that and really live our best lives partnering with our biology rather than working against it or working with some calculations.
Yes, 100%. And let's teach our kids to do the same, like your dad did for you from an early age, right? Because I didn't know much about nutrition label. I started reading ingredients maybe like 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. But even like the actual nutritional facts where I could look for like added sugar or anything like that, I didn't know how to do that until I got pregnant when I had gestational diabetes. Like, I had no idea. There's so many things to consider because there's so many hidden factors and hidden things in our processed foods that it might look so great on the box and it might have all the beautiful words of like healthy, natural, but you really can't trust it. You have to really teach your kids. And if you're not sure how to do it yourself yet, it's the best thing you can invest in to really educate yourself on how to read these labels, how to teach your kids to read them, so that if you need to reach for these foods, which chances are you will, because that's just so easy and convenient in our today's world. And it's not the worst thing in the world, as long as you're balancing it, then you should know what to look for.
Exactly. And there are definitely times where I'm out there, out and about, and I can scan everything and I know, what's really going to be the best or where I'm sacrificing. And sometimes I have to sacrifice and I don't like it, but I also don't think it's helpful to be like super like
absolutely
anal about anything either, because that's a whole other stress on your body. So
Yes, 100%. It's all about balance. It's all about balance, but bigger balance on maybe the bigger chunk of it is on the healthy foods, and then some of it is understanding that life happens. You're going to go to like sometimes if I go to a regular grocery store here, like it's really hard to find good food unless it's a whole food. There's really not many options, right?
Mhm.
Because of the way the supermarkets are set up. I mean, they're just filled with these foods, and that's
Yeah.
just the way the world is right now. And it's something we have to be conscious of and just teach ourselves how to manage that and how to better prepare, but also not, like you said, not overthink it, because it's going to happen. Our kids are going to go to a birthday party and they're going to want cake. They're going to want the cupcake. They're going to want something, a chips or something. And it's not about depriving them of these things. It's not about being super crazy about it and anal about it. It's about, managing your food at home so they can really get good nutrition. And then when they're out there, and educating them. And then when they're out there, this is not going to make or break their health, right?
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And, and I've never had to deprive myself. And especially like growing
Yeah.
up, it's like, I baked. It was
Yeah.
like these things had their moments in my life. It wasn't like the primary makeup of the food, but I loved Oreo cheesecake. I used to make those. I'm obsessed with chocolate chip cookies, like
So
obsessed.
good.
They are my
So
soft,
good.
they have to be soft, chewy, like a melty chocolate. Love that. And it has its moment in my life, and it has
Right.
its place. And some foods
Yeah.
are for the soul, but
Yeah.
the foods that are for the nutrition, I want them to really nail it. That they have
Exactly.
to nail it. And then if I want to have whatever else for enjoyment, then go
Yeah.
ahead and enjoy it. I don't know.
Yeah. And you probably won't reach for the Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookie. Maybe you're
That's
going to
true.
make your own.
That's true.
Maybe you're going to get a
They
very much
definitely are
cleaner
made with
blend.
butter. They're not made with
Yes.
soybean oil.
Exactly. Exactly. So
That's
there's
true. So I
sacrifices.
still have standards for my
But
cookies. Yep.
yes. Yes. As we
They're dipped in
should.
raw milk.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, because we can still have really yummy and good food that's full of real ingredients. Like,
Yeah,
why not?
exactly.
I'll make raw ice cream.
Yeah.
And all it has is a little, like some maple syrup, and then it has pasture raised eggs and raw cream and raw milk, and that's it. And then maybe a
Yeah,
little
and
bit of
that's
vanilla. And it's
super
delicious.
nutrient dense. Super
So
nutrient
nutrient
dense
dense.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't
Like
feel bad about giving it to my child or eating it myself. It's just,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
can make
It's
these
weird,
swaps.
like the best foods have been totally demonized.
Yes,
Yet
exactly.
people are like trying to defend literal concoctions of refined starches, refined sugar, and oils that are like didn't exist, 50, 100 years ago. Like you
Right.
can't tell me that's food, and then
Right.
like all the food we've lived on forever before that is like somehow suddenly bad for
Right.
everyone. Like I just don't believe it. Like did we get healthier or less healthy when we
Oh my
introduced all
gosh.
these things? I mean, it's just very obvious.
Wasn't there a study that came out comparing Lucky Charms with like red meat and how it's healthier? It's just, I mean, but
That
the
was
fact
such
is that
yeah.
these are
Well,
coming
and
out, and
that's the other
yeah.
thing. I mean, there are all these metrics people are trying to come up with on how to evaluate food, and the criteria are just like so crazy. That's why I just think like the nutrient sensing criteria is the most it just makes the most sense. It's like, what does your
Yeah.
biology want? I don't care what you make up or, what angle you want to take.
Hmm.
The most important criteria is like, what is your body looking for? Your body
Exactly.
is looking for something every day. Every
Every
day your
day.
body's looking for something. So it's doing that, whether you know it or not, it's doing that.
Wow.
So that should be criteria number one, in my opinion. So
I agree. No, I
everything
agree.
else is secondary. Obviously, you want to have better quality, da 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 da. But I can guarantee you, your body's not looking for Lucky Charms. It's not looking for
Yes.
it. It's not
It's just
looking
not.
for Lucky Charms. So that should not be it. Your body's looking for meat. You eat meat, you're
Yes.
full for hours. Like
For hours.
that
That's
means your
it.
body was looking for it. When it got it, suddenly you're not looking for anything. Oh,
Exactly.
funny that. So I don't care what anyone comes up with. You can't there's no argument that's going to trump the one that your body is making.
100%. We have
So
to tune in and really learn how to read our signals, like you said, and just go from there. But I think this is a perfect time to tell people where can they find signals, because I'm sure they're wanting to get their hands on it so they can have it also in their pantry when they need it to have this beautiful, nutritious meal at the ready. So where can they find Signals?
Yes. Okay. So let me really quick maybe mention all the ingredients because we didn't even get there. So people are probably like, what on earth? We described the food categories, but I can tell you briefly the selections of those categories so you know what's in there. So for the protein sources are beef protein and egg white. Okay, so they're animal sources of protein. There's no whey, there's no soy, there's no pea, rice, whatever, bean, whatever other plant things out there, because the plant proteins actually, because there's not a huge amount of protein in plants, in order to concentrate and make a protein powder, you actually have to use a lot of that plant. Mm-hmm. It actually concentrates heavy metals because they're naturally in the soil and they naturally get into our plants. But if you're concentrating plant material down to concentrate these proteins, you actually concentrate all those heavy metals. So there's a lot of testing that goes on with plant proteins, and they tend to find lots of lead in them. And then people will say, oh, this is natural. No, it's not natural. It's naturally occurring, but it's not natural to concentrate all of that protein down and concentrate the accompanying heavy metals. So we have the animal sources of beef and egg white. We also have added leucine, just to top it up to that leucine threshold for muscle protein synthesis of 2.5 grams. And then we have, so the micronutrients come from the organs. As I mentioned, we have a blend of 6 different organs in there, bovine organs. And these are from cows that are regeneratively farmed in New Zealand. They're year-round grass-fed. If they have to come inside, they're still eating like dried grass because sometimes it gets cold. Mm-hmm. But they're all on regenerative farms, pasture raised, really good quality stuff. And they don't have any like BSE in New Zealand. They've never had a case. So we do have liver, kidney, spleen, pancreas, heart, and brain for our DHA. You don't have to worry about any issues with BSE or any of that from New Zealand cows. There's never been a case there, and they have a national monitoring program. This is a question I get sometimes. And then we have the healthy fats blend, or the healthy fats. That's, people have different ideas on what a healthy fat is. If you ask the government, they'll have a different idea than I.
Oh, yes.
But rather, I would say a beneficial fats blend. So definitely we need to check off our essential fatty acids. Those are, important for signaling fullness. But we also have conjugated linoleic acid, which is something that's normally found in grass-fed meat and grass-fed milk that is, much lower quantities now that the food supply is very different and the cows are fed very differently. So CLA is an important one. We have extra virgin olive oil. We have cocoa butter for stearic acid. We have MCT oil to give you a good source of clean energy that you can use right away, and also, helps people like really with their cognition and, being able to focus and get a lot of work done. That's what I find the benefit of that is. And then it's all in a base of coconut milk powder. So when you get this, you don't have to go to the store and buy any kind of milk or milk alternative, whatever you might be drinking, in order to make a palatable shake. Most shakes don't taste good with water. You can actually blend this straight with water and ice.
Yep.
You don't need to get anything else. And that was part of the criteria. It needs to be, if we're going to make this a convenient thing, it's going to be convenient all the way. You don't need anything other than water and ice. And if you're on the road, water is going to be just fine. So we have, that is a healthy fat blend. And then we have the fiber and resistant starch blend that I discussed before. So the green banana, acacia fiber, resistant tapioca dextrin, a few different plant fibers. And then for the flavorings, the vanilla flavor is real vanilla. The chocolate flavor is real midnight chocolate cocoa and cocoa extract. So midnight chocolate cocoa is actually the cocoa they use in Oreo. So it's like black cocoa, yeah. So I didn't call it an Oreo flavor, but it kind of has the Oreo components.
Yes.
The black cocoa powder.
It's delicious. I love the chocolate.
Yeah, on a nice creamy cocoa butter backdrop. And then it's mildly sweetened with monk fruit. I didn't use any stevia because I don't really like the taste of that personally. That was why.
Yes. Okay.
But, I think 1 in 4 don't like it, and I'm the 1 in 4. So I obviously couldn't use that, but I love monk fruit anyway. And it's mildly sweetened. We didn't want to make it like super sweet in your face, super flavored in your face, because part of your signaling is also the taste. So it does need to be a little bit savory, a little bit paradoxically savory, as someone has described it, because we don't want this to be like a Dairy Queen milkshake and then you want to go out and get a Dairy Queen milkshake, or you kind of trigger those sweet cravings. So it's mildly sweet. It's still pleasant. I mean, you drink it, so you know what level of sweetness it is. I mean, that's still...
It's perfect. It's the perfect level.
Thank you. Yeah, and then a pinch of Himalayan pink salt, and that's everything that's in there. So
it's amazing.
Yep, protein, the fatty acid blend, soluble fiber, resistant starch, micronutrients from organs, all the best quality bioavailable forms of that. The net carbs are less than 8 grams, so it's keto friendly in that way. All the animal sources of the beef protein and the organs are all grass-fed, regenerative raised. So a lot of thought went into that, but yeah, so you can purchase it. We are on pre-orders right now, but because we just finished blending our batch, it's going to be packaged up and ready to go just over 2 weeks.
What?
Yeah, we might get it done early, but not making any promises. We're planning to ship it out the week of September 6th. We have a limited batch and it's selling out quickly because we had lots of people try it before the launch, and honestly, like all I have to do is send out a sample and then I get a text message saying, where can I buy it? So
yeah, it's amazing.
Because when you try it and you feel how good you feel and you get the benefits, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. You can pre-order at feedyoursignals.com. I know Lena has a code, maybe Lena 10.
I do. Yes, Lena 10. That's it.
Lena 10. And for those who want to give it a try before making that investment, even though we do have 100% money back guarantee, I'd rather send you a free sample first, and you can make sure that it's something that you're going to like and that you're going to want to implement in your life, or if you want to try it before you make the jump to commit to a whole bag. We're sending out free samples right now, depending on when you're listening to this.
Let's hope soon.
When this actually gets launched in
a few weeks, like probably 2-3 weeks. So
okay.
Hopefully by then,
the time you're listening, we will have already launched.
Okay.
But you can get a free sample. I don't know if you want to post the sample form as well on the bottom
absolutely
of the episode, and then you can either go buy it or you can sign up for a free sample. I'll be happy to send that out.
No, that's amazing. And I just can't speak highly enough about it. I really believe in this product. I'm excited it's on the market now because, like I said, we need more people like you really revolutionizing the food scene out there.
It needs
because
help.
It's just we need help. We desperately need help.
The murder scene.
Oh my gosh. It's like, I don't even know what to call it, but it's like, I want to go into a store and buy something like this. This is exactly what I want. Because I think the trend now is to just get a protein powder, which some of them are great, but they're just an incomplete meal. So you still need to get really creative about how to make it into a complete meal. So having something like this where it's already ready to go, it's just a game changer. So congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. And I'm so glad I found you, because you are the person that I made this for.
Yes, you are. I'm so glad you found me
too. The person who wants that quality, convenient nutrition that's really going to satisfy, that you can have quickly and make your life better, not worse.
Yes, 100%. And that's what it's about. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm super excited about this, and I'm going to make sure to include Feed Your Signals in the show notes. So anybody listening who wants to purchase, pre-order, or if it's probably post-launch, you can just go and get your bag. You can get a vanilla or a chocolate. They're both great. I am a chocolate lover though, but my brother and his fiance are vanilla lovers. So you just have to kind of pick for yourself. They're both amazing in different ways. Thank you so much for tuning in today and being a part of the Livin'Sky community. I hope you learned something new and inspiring that you can apply in your life right away. If you have a minute, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us grow and for other parents like you to find us. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Sending you and your family lots of love. I'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to the Livin'Sky podcast. If this episode resonated, please leave a quick 5-star review or share it with another parent who'd love it too. It really helps more families find the support that they need. And don't forget to join my newsletter at linalivin'Sky.com for more tips and free guides. Sending a little sunshine to your kitchen today. See you next time.